Hello and welcome to the Employee Benefits Insight series, designed to keep you up to date with the latest trends and solutions that will enable you to implement effective and efficient reward strategies after the fallout from the global pandemic. The speaker of this session will be on hand in the live chat room on the right of your screen to answer any questions you may have. The Q&A will continue for up to 10 minutes after the session has finished. Don't forget to follow us and get involved on social media by using the hashtag EBInsights21. This keynote session is entitled Making Inclusion and Belonging Matter.
Hello and welcome to the Employee Benefits Insights opening keynote address. Our speaker this morning, Putri Realita, is Global Head of Inclusive Diversity for HR at Danone, and she will set out how to build a diversity and inclusion policy, how to embed D&I into the organisational agenda, and much more. Welcome, Putri.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you for the warm welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's very glad to be here in employee benefit sessions, and I would like to share a little bit about myself before I start. So my name is Putri Realita. I am Indonesian. I was born and raised in Indonesia, and I had a quite diverse career path in my career. So I started. I had a biotechnology background, and I started my career in the factory for 5 years, and then I moved to corporate affairs, which I love very much. And so I did most of my career in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, and then I moved to Danone for this role about 5 years ago, and it was a new role for Danone back then, and I didn't really my knowledge of D&I was very little back then, and I really was learning on the topic by doing the work, and I brought Danone learning together with me. So it has been quite a very exciting journey for me and also for Danone. And I just would like to share with you the journey that we have gone through. And of course, we are not yet there of what we want to achieve. But I think this journey already has been a tremendous journey, and we have made such a good progress. So being myself, so maybe if we can move to the next slide. Being myself, moving to one career to another, and also studying in another country and working in living in 4 different countries for at the moment. So it's like for me, it's a personal experience to experience diversity and experience inclusion and experience belonging. So when you move to one place to another, you experience yourself how to react to the new environment. And this is, you can feel also how diversity, inclusion, and belonging are all interlinked. And you cannot separate these 3 terms. And diversity is all about visible and invisible dimensions that make an individual who they are. So for me, diversity is a fact. It's a fact that everybody is unique. Everybody has their own uniqueness. And inclusion is about how to create an environment that is fair, that is healthy, where everyone has equitable access to resources and opportunities for all. And belonging is where people have this feeling of security and support when there is a sense of acceptance, inclusion, and identity. And I would like to quote Verena Myers, the head of Netflix, head of D&I at Netflix. So she was saying that diversity is like inviting people to a party, inclusion is making them dance together, and belonging is asking everyone to play their own playlist. So this is how we describe DIB, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, in a simpler sense. So why it is important? Maybe we can go to the next slide. And there are a lot of researchers out there that have shown the importance of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And of course, the McKinsey research saying that companies with more gender diversity or cultural ethnic diversity will have higher performance amongst their peers. And also here we quote a research from Russell Reynolds Associates, where inclusive leadership really unlocking the value of diversity and inclusion, and how team members see inclusive leaders are much more higher value than the non-inclusive leaders. And high belonging is also linked to an increase of job performance, a drop in turnover risk, and of course a reduction in sick days. And therefore, when we have these three working together in a company, then we will see a company with high performance going forward. So how then we can implement this in an organization, especially in a big organization like Danone? So maybe if we can go to the next slide. And so for Danone, next slide. I think the first thing that we need to think about is really not to make D&I an HR topic. And D&I is not an HR topic. HR plays a big part of D&I, but D&I is a business topic. So the way we say it, that we have to link it to our overall business, and what will D&I brings to that overall business objective. So for Danone, it's for us, because we have food and beverage. We are in the food and drinks choices. We are in food and drink companies, and we produce food and drinks all over the world. We are in 55 countries. And for that, food and drinks choices are really driven by local culture, personal needs, and personal choices. And therefore, it's very crucial for our employees, our own people, to really embrace the diversity of our consumers. Because when we can meet this diversity of demands, diversity of needs of our consumers, then we can be a successful company. And therefore, this is our tagline: our differences will make the difference. And I will explain to you more detail later on how we are organized in terms of D&I topics. So we can go to the next slide. And at Danone, when we look at the business imperative, so we look at not only in the short-term goals, but also in the long-term goals. So we have this 2030 goals, 2030 company goals, we call it. And it consists of business model, brand model, and trust model. And D&I is embedded as part of each of these models. And it's being tracked and being measured through three of these key elements of the 2030 goals. So the first one is entrust Danone's people to create new futures. And in this case, we want to create really an inclusive environment where everybody in Danone can contribute with their uniqueness. And also we want to foster inclusive growth. And in this case, we want to make sure that our supply chain are inclusive across the organization. And the last one is B Corp certification. So B Corp is a certification for businesses who are doing good for the society and for the environment. And we want to have all our business units being B Corp certified by 2025. So it's all embedded into the overall business goals, and D&I is a big element of the B Corp certification as well. So this is really how we embed D&I in Danone as part of the bigger business objective, what we want to achieve in 2030. So if you go to the next slide. And so this is one example of the entrusting Danone's people to create new futures. So we have this program called One Person, One Voice, One Share. And basically this program, we have 100,000 employees globally across the 55 countries, sorry. And we send out a survey every year to ask our people which of the 2030 goals that our people think the most crucial or the most urgent to tackle, and then take into account this feedback into our business strategy planning process. So therefore, what we do in the company is really what our people want to do as well. And so this is we do it every year. So this is a routine now every year since 2019, I think so. So this is something that we really think that we can really listen to our people and direct the business as what our people is suggesting. So we go to the next slide. So and then we go further into D&I. And back in 2017, when I joined the global team in Paris, we tried to set clearly, okay, what is our ambition and what we want to achieve by 2020. So that was like 4 years journey, and we said that we wanted to, based on the data that we collected, we gathered also insights from different people in the different regions, also different levels of the in the company. So we decided to focus on three things. The first one is inclusive behaviors, which I think is super key. And we track this through two questions that we embed into our annual people survey. And the second one is gender balance, because based on our data gathering, we need to push more on female representations in directors and executives. So these are executive are the top 250 employees in Danone. So at that time in 2017, we were in 17%. So we wanted to achieve the 30%. And then the last one is culture and nationalities. So here we also think that we need to represent the consumers, our consumers in the different markets, and therefore we want to have a leadership team which consists also with underrepresented nationalities, because at the moment 70% of Danone's business is coming from outside Europe. So therefore we also track this, and we want it to be 50% in directors and 30% in executive level by 2020. So if you click, I think we can have the, yes. So this is the consistent positive trend, and you can see there our evolutions. Gender we have been measuring since 2009. So we go since I joined, it was from about 17% to 30%. So and then in the nationality part, we go from around 20% to 32% by the end of last year. So that's this is something that I think it's not enough. We are not in the 50% yet, but we have made a lot of progress, and we want to continue to push for it. So if you go to the next slide. So the way we embed D&I, so we don't want this to be only HR topics. As I mentioned before, HR plays a big part, but it's not the only one. And as an FMCG company, also people know our brands in the market, and of course, it always starts with people. And I will explain to you more about what we do in this area. But it also is about our brands as well, because our brands can really have the power and influence, and can really influence the society, especially how stereotypes are being fought in the through our communications of our brands. And the last one is partners. So we believe that if you want to create a bigger impact, not only inside Danone but also outside Danone, we need to work with partners, and partners can be suppliers, it can be even our competitors, it can be also NGOs, governments, anyone that have the same purpose of what we want to achieve. So with this triangle approach, I will explain to you more on examples of each of these elements. So if we go to the next slide. And this is also how we are governed in terms of steering committee. So we have a global steering committee with our sponsors at the COMEX level. COMEX is we have two people reporting to the CEOs sitting in this committee, and also the people part. We have HR, of course, and also our champions. So we really are inviting our people on the ground to become part of the change. And we invite the champions lead from different functions, so like sales, like operations, like IT. So they are sitting also here in the committee to make sure that we have the top down, but also the bottom up voices. And the second one is marketing as the brands part. So this is also our marketing team is sitting here. And also the partners part is our general secretary, who is in charge of overall partnership in the company. So with this triangle approach, but also top down and bottom up, we are embedding D&I into the business. So I think we can go to the next slide. I can give you examples of how we start with our people, and all with this people part, we really want to make sure that each and everyone in Danone can bring their true self within the company. If you go to the next slide, so. And here, what I mentioned to you about, we created a strong, we call it Act Inclusive bottom-up movement. So at the moment, we have more than 300 people globally across different markets, and we call them ID champions. So ID is inclusive diversity, and we go to the next slide. And here, the way we work is that from the global KPIs that we set at the global level, the three KPIs on inclusive behaviors, on gender and culture and nationality. Also, I realized that D&I is different. Is approached different. Can be approached differently in the different markets. When we talk about D&I in the US, is not the same when we talk about D&I in France or even in China and in Indonesia. So we want to have D&I roadmaps that are relevant for each of these local markets, and relevant because it's relevant for their local business, it's relevant for their local society, and it's relevant for the consumers. So we ask each of the country or regions to build their own local inclusive diversity roadmaps. And also, not only on top of the local roadmaps, we also have functional roadmaps. So functional means like IT, like sales or operations, because each function, each job family has different challenges. So for example, in let's say in IT, we need to push for more women representations. But let's say in HR, it's probably the other way around. And so maybe, for example, in China, we want to push more generations topic, or in the US, of course, we want to push the race topic, and in UK it's LGBTQ. So we let really each country, each region to define what does it mean for them, and how can they make leverage D&I as part of their business advantage in their own regions. So if you go to the next slide, and of course we built such organizations where we appoint people who are responsible for this topic in each of the region, and also in each of the functions. And we go to the next slide, and this role is really, we make it really, it doesn't have to be HR. Most of these people are HR, but within the functions, for example, in operations, we have 4 people in operations, and they are from the operations team, operation functions, and also in the regional lead, they can also be someone from sustainability or someone from finance. The red line is that they have to be passionate. They have to be wanting to make a change, to make a difference within their own function or their own regions. We go to the next slide. And these are I just want to show you some examples. So here is the example from Mexico, and Miguel Angel is an operations champion. So he saw that in the factory we have quite low representation of female on the shop floors. So therefore we built this, we call it Pink Line factory in Mexico. So there's a specific line which has been adjusted ergonomically to fit really women to be able to work there, not only ergonomically but also technologically, so that the line works very well. And we put also a target to how many women we want to employ in the factory. And with this they have succeeded to improve women representation in the factory by 5% within the past 3 years. So if you go to the next one, So this one is Natalie and Peter. So they are from IT functions. So this is also gender balance is also a problem in IT. And they built this Global Women in Tech networking group. And they really push the gender agenda, making sure that all team leaders have D&I objective within their scope, to make sure that we improve the numbers within IT functions globally. And we go to the next slide. So here in the from local example, so this is from North America. So there we're talking about employee resource groups, and they built employee resource groups which is employee driven. So there's one that is focusing on women talent, and pride is for LGBTQ plus community, care is for parents, brave is for veterans and military reserve, and bold is for Black employees. And recently, we just have a new one. It's called Ola. Ola is for the Latino employees. And this is one example from NORAM. And the next slide. And here is an example also from UK. So they also just built similarly like in NORAM. So this is RISE, Racial Inclusion Striving for Equality Roadmap. So this is also something that they want to push also in the UK. So next slide. And here is from Benelux, so and Spain. So pride is also something that they want to push there. So they also have a program building a network, but also building a partnership with for example, like a workplace pride that they can partner with to improve our standards for LGBTQ plus community. And next slide. And here another example from China. So there we were talking about inclusion and how we can improve engagement through inclusive decision making. So this is like a 5 fingers approach to decision making to make sure that all the voices are being heard on the table. So not only the most talkative person will speak, but also people who are introverts, who are normally don't speak loudly in meetings. We get everyone's voice to be taken into account. So that's some examples that I can share with you on the people part. And maybe we can move to the next slide now. And here now I will share with you examples of the brands part. And so how we want to make sure that our brands can really make an impact and also influence the society. And this is, I think, an example that I will share from Mexico. Next slide. And here we can play a video.
Me parece increíble que esté sucediendo esto.
La impotencia.
Que tiene que cambiar, ¿no?
Bienvenidos a la mini ciudad, donde vamos a jugar a ser grandes. ¿Quién quiere ser piloto?
Yo.
Científico. A ver, levanta su mano. ¿Quién quiere ser juez? Tú no puedes ser juez, porque eres niña. Voy a tener que elegir por cada 9 niños a una sola niña. Y tú no vas a poder ser científica. Solo los niños pueden ser pilotos. Las niñas no. Señorita Zapata, por favor, venga. Le toca servir porque es mujer. ¿Se esforzaron en hacer las galletas?
Sí.
Aquí está su paga. Aquí está su paga, la mitad.
Me parece totalmente injusto.
Es un error, no está bien. ¿Qué estás diciendo?
No, no es un error. Es la realidad. En nuestro país, las oportunidades de tus hijos y tus hijas están condicionadas por su género.
example that we did in Mexico. We worked together with UN Women in Mexico to really push the gender equality topics there, which is very relevant. And there was one of the advertising that we did with our brands, the biggest bottled water brands in Mexico. It's called Bonafont. And it was really great partnership, and we still continue the partnership now to address different topics. Like now we focus more on the violence against women, which is a very hot topic in Mexico. So this is another examples of another brand that we have. It's called Light and Free, where we fight bias and stereotypes and how the importance of freeing yourself from the social conventions. So that's another example of the brands. And if you go to the next slide, and here is Nutri Days in South Africa. So we basically support single mothers through our partnership with Clothing Bank, where we give also funding for them to start their own businesses. So this is also something that is very relevant topic for South Africa. And the next slide. And these are some other brands that we have. For example, the Danone of the world, which brought really a specific taste of yogurt from different countries. So because yogurt in the Middle East, in Iceland, and in Turkey, it could be different than the yogurt in France. So we try to bring the different tastes of the world through the products. And Fonfea is another brand in Spain. It's quite similar to Bonafont, where we also fighting for gender equality. And Evians it's quite similar to Light and Free, where we want to show that inspire new generations to live their lives as diverse and as unique people that they are. So that's just some examples that I can share with you about the brands part. And of course, it's not enough. We don't stop here. We are still have a lot of opportunities in our brands all over the world where we can really make a difference. And through this the diversity and inclusion topic, and of course, this is something that we are going to continue working on. And if you go to the next slide. And the last element is about partners. And I mentioned to you before that if you want to create an impact inside and outside Danone, we need to work with partners. And we go to the next slide. So I just give you some examples. This is the global, some of the key global milestones. So we are part of Bloomberg Index. And this is a very good index where really we can have a picture of what we are good at and what we can improve, and we can see the comparison with other companies and where we are against the other companies. And Equalib is another kind of index, and also the GIS SDG trophy. This is a trophy of where we have a gender equality projects in the community, but also addressing other SDGs, like for example, food and hunger SDGs, or the economic inclusion SDGs, etc. So if you go to the next slide. So this is also our partnerships on gender topics. So we have a global partnership with He for She and UN Women. So Danone, our CEO, is one of the He for She champions. And as He for She champions, we were committed to implement gender-neutral parental leave throughout our 55 countries by the end of last year. And we are already like almost 90% there by the time I speak now. So we want to push this also in the next few months to be completing the implementations. And we also partner with the LEAD network. If you have heard LEAD network, it's an association where companies of manufacturing and retail gather to really together improve gender equality in the industry, which is a really great platform for us to be there to share best practices, etc. And we go to the next slide. And this is also our latest partnership where we create a call for actions against inequalities. We work together with OECD and we call it Business for Inclusive Growth. So our CEOs are partnering with 40 other CEOs of multinational companies, different industries. So companies like L'Oreal, like Salesforce, for example. So we basically have some key projects to work on together, and also some working groups to share best practices as well across the different companies. So if you go to the next slide, and here are also not only at the global level, but we encourage also our countries to build local partnerships based on their local D&I, or we call it ID priorities. So first in the US with the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusions. And in Brazil, we have a very strong partnership with Ser Especial. It's an organization who trains people with disability. And we built also an online CV platform for them to be able to post their CVs there. And we connect with our suppliers, our partners also to recruit them as well. And in Turkey, we work together with Kagider, Women Entrepreneurship Association, and we want to build we built a social awareness campaign. It's called Thank You Mom, You Are Working. And in Italy, we partner with Valordi for training programs for female leaders. And we have many other partnerships that are going on across the different countries in the world. So if you go to the next slide, this is also another examples of partnership with the other companies in France, Camfil, EDF, L'Oreal. We have this international charter for inclusive AI. And basically we are pledging for inclusive AI, and together we will share some solutions on how to implement such solutions in our organizations to make sure that our AI is free from bias and therefore inclusive. We go to the next slide. And so I just would like to conclude and throughout my presentations today and sharing with you. And the first conclusion is that we cannot just do diversity, inclusion, or belongings just by itself. It cannot be a standalone thing to do in the organizations. It has to be really embedded as part of the overall business strategy and goals. And make it not an HR topic, make it really a business topic. And second one is so far that I found that a combination of top down, of course, the buy-in of the CEOs and the top leadership are so important. This is I echo that, but it is not enough. I think our employees really can play a big role in making things happen on the ground. And this bottom-up approach is really important because it can make the D&I implementations authentic. And it's not something that is so corporate. It's something that people believe in, and people are doing it because they have convictions, and they really they believe that change is necessary to happen, and therefore we empower them to implement the changes that they believe they can do. And the third one is it is really key to apply an inclusive approach in deploying diversity, inclusion, belongings, because if we make it too top down, people will not relate to it, and people will not own the topic, because I think ownership is important, and to make the topic being implemented as practical as possible and in many regions as possible, because you cannot push the US mindset to the Asian mindset. It has to be done through their own lens of the way they see things, and how they see D&I will bring a difference within their own regions, within their own functions. And the fourth one is always start with people, because people is our greatest asset, and people will make the changes. But it's not only about our people. We also have to think about our brands. Of course, behind our brands there are our people, So therefore, this is why we always start with people. But think about how our brands can influence, can make a difference also in the society, create a bigger impact. And also the last one is create a bigger impact by working hand in hand with partners. So talk to partners, talk to stakeholders that are having the same mindset, having the same purpose, and make it happen on the ground. And the last one is, I think I would say that just enjoy the ride. It is not easy. It is a lot of ups and downs, but if you have the convictions, you have the tools, you have the great governance, you have the people behind you that also believe in the topic and believe that they can make a difference. You can make a progress, and remember to celebrate each progress, whatever small they are. I think it's important that progress has been made and we celebrate it every time. So that's all I can share with you today, and I hope that this will be useful, and I would be available for a Q&A after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Putri, for that fascinating and insightful presentation. It was really useful to hear about Danone's approach to inclusive diversity and how it's driving the organisation's business goals. In particular, how D&I champions have been key to this. Thanks again, Putri. I'm sure your presentation has given our audience plenty of food for thought.
Thank you, Kavita, for the opportunity to share with the audience here. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our opening keynote session. Please be sure to ask any remaining questions you may have in the live chat. Our next session, Building Resilient Teams, a whole person, whole organisation approach, will take place at 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 16th of March.